TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Iran's Islamic Republic Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei asserts that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should be issued a death warrant. Outgoing EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell pledges to grant the Lebanese Armed Forces some 200 million euros. The United Arab Emirates announces the arrest of 3 terrorists responsible for the murder of a Jewish rabbi in Abu Dhabi. Heavy cross-border exchanges were reported between the Iranian proxy Hezbollah and Israel over the weekend, with the IDF deepening its operational successes, targeting hundreds of Hezbollah terror installations and operatives, while Hezbollah launched approximately 300 projectiles towards civilian communities as far as the central city of Tel Aviv. Regrettably, a number of rockets managed to penetrate Israel's aerial defenses, with reports of both injuries and damage.
Around 12:50 afternoon, sirens heard in the center of Israel, and after the sirens we heard a big boom and explosions around the Petah Tikva city. This is one of the main cities in the center of Israel. Paramedics and EMTs of MADA that reached to the scene found 6 people that needed a treatment and evacuation to hospital. One of them was with injuries and difficult breathing because of the fire, and another 5 with minor injuries.
Following the repeated salvos that were launched by Hezbollah at Israel's civilian communities, IDF Home Front Command CEO Major General Rafi Milo visited one of the sites that was struck in the northern port city of Haifa, during the course of which he noted the importance of heeding the Home Front Command's instructions, which saves lives.
Despite the truly extraordinary work that the air defenses and the troops of Iron Dome, the defense is not hermetic. It is not 100%. And as we see here, penetrations occur. Therefore, it is very important to continue to adhere to the Home Front Command's directives every time that you hit an alert, enter a protected area, or the safest one available to you. I think that the point we are at here is an extraordinary example of how in this house, with very, very significant damage, a 23-year-old boy entered the protected area and closed the door. And despite the direct hit on the building next door, he came out unscathed. And in the building that we see here behind us, there was a direct hit, a building with a shared private shelter at the bottom floor. Not all of residents entered, with some of them going to the safest spaces inside their own apartments, and as a result they only face minor injuries and scratches.
The Iranian terror proxy's incessant efforts to target Israeli civilians were faced with the IDF's unceasing activities to clear Lebanon's border region from terror infrastructure, with thousands of subterranean posts, weapons caches, and structures housing munitions directed at Israel are systematically eradicated, while hundreds of Hezbollah terror operatives eliminated over the past 72 hours alone.
What you can see here, within the post of Hezbollah terrorists, includes mattresses underground, a designated space for cooking, batteries for the purposes of charging their phones for extended periods of time. And we found in this post many weapons, some which are sniper rifles.
While the IDF deepens its operational successes in the Shiite-dominated border regions of southern Lebanon, Israeli Air Force aircraft have conducted many dozens of aerial strikes against military targets, which Hezbollah established both in and under densely populated structures of its Dahya stronghold in Beirut, alongside additional predominantly Shiite regions in the Bekaa and along the Lebanese border with Syria. Nevertheless, while clear-cut collaborated intelligence accommodated by legal backing is attached to every Israeli Air Force strike on Hezbollah infrastructure in Beirut, the Iranian proxy is frantically trying to push back on Israel's fact-based assertions, fearing that its own Shiite population may turn against it.
We confirm to the Israeli enemy the false claims it's making that there was a targeting of a military figure or a figure of the jihad or the resistance in this building is a false claim. Everything about the matter is that at 4 o'clock in the morning, people were sleeping, children, women, it was a targeting of civilians for more killing, and we confirm that there was no figure from the military, the jihad or the resistance in this building.
U.S. broker negotiations to reach a ceasefire arrangement for Hezbollah's instigated war of aggression against Israel are at full steam ahead, with a number of gaps lingering. According to Israeli sources, however, who asked to remain anonymous, the Biden administration is eager to implement an outline applying extraordinary pressure upon Jerusalem to succumb to its demands or face possible repercussions within international fora. Meanwhile, the European Union's outgoing foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, who has blatantly championed anti-Israel narratives within the European institution, visited Beirut, during the course of which he voiced a threat, albeit void of substance, to hold anyone who opposes reaching an immediate conclusion to the war versus the Iranian proxy Hezbollah accountable. The outgoing EU foreign policy chief also stressed that the European Union, despite a majority of the 27-member bloc failing to meet their budgetary commitments to NATO, is ready to spend an additional 200 million euros to the Lebanese Armed Forces that, after European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen had already pledged 1 billion euros to the Lebanese state during her visit on May 2nd earlier this year.
It is tragic that we could not get this war to an end. But this must happen. And let's use this tragedy that we have seen in Lebanon and Gaza in order to avoid more sufferance for the people in the region. We must pressure the Israeli government and maintain the pressure in Hezbollah to accept the US proposal for a ceasefire. This was agreed. This proposal is pending with the final agreement with the Israeli government. As the European Union, we are supporting the Lebanese people, the Lebanese army, and the Lebanese institutions. We are ready to devote 200 million euros to the Lebanese Armed Forces. And I have asked Prime Minister Netanyahu what and how we can support your army, not only financially, but also technically, and I will do the same thing to the Lebanese Armed Forces Commander Aoun.
It is important to know that while UNIFIL continues to maintain a presence in southern Lebanon, despite repeated Israeli requests for it to withdraw temporarily out of safety considerations, 5 Italian forces sustained minor degrees of injuries after Hezbollah mounted a rocket attack on a UNIFIL installation, drawing rebuke from Rome.
From what can be seen, there appear to be 2 missiles, likely launched by Hezbollah. Once again, what is happening is unacceptable. Just as we have firmly told Israel to exercise maximum caution and prevent artillery shells from hitting our base, we say with equal determination that Italian soldiers must not be touched. This must also be clear to Hezbollah. This organization cannot think of playing with weapons. If they do not know how to use them, they should do something else. But if they continue to damage Italian bases, they are making a grave mistake. I say this with great firmness: Italian soldiers must not be touched. It seems that none of them have serious injuries. It is only a matter of bruising. Only 1 lieutenant appears to have minor wounds, but they do not seem serious at all. I would say that none of them are in danger, and there are no severe injuries.
Turning to Tehran.
Death, death to America. Death, death to England. Death, death to hypocrites. Death, death to Israel.
The Islamic Republic Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei addressed the International Criminal Court's decision to issue arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, insisting that anything short of a death sentence for Israel's leaders is unacceptable from Iran's perspective.
The actions they are taking are not a victory, they are war crimes. Issuing Netanyahu's arrest warrant is not enough. His execution warrant must be issued.
While the Islamic Republic Supreme Leader continued by spouting his hate-filled sermon of deception, it was unveiled that a Jewish rabbi residing in the Emirati city of Abu Dhabi was kidnapped and murdered, a heinous act of terror which Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed at the start of his weekly cabinet meeting.
At the start of my remarks, I would like to express deep outrage, on behalf of myself, all members of the government, all citizens of Israel and the entire Jewish people, over the abduction and murder of Zvi Kogan. May God avenge him. This murder was carried out in the UAE. The murder of an Israeli citizen and a Chabad emissary is an abhorrent anti-Semitic terrorist attack. On your behalf, I also send heartfelt condolences to the Kogan family. The State of Israel will use all means and will deal with these murderers and those who dispatched them to the fullest extent of the law. None of them will get away. I greatly appreciate the cooperation of the UAE in investigating the murder. We will strengthen the ties between us in the face of attempts by the axis of evil to harm the relationship of peace between us. We will strengthen them and we will work to expand regional stability.
The Emirati Interior Ministry announced that it had already managed to apprehend 3 perpetrators involved in the murder of Rabbi Zvi Kogan. The Emirati Interior Ministry further stated that full details of the incident will be disclosed upon the conclusion of the investigation. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based and as such broadcast free of charge, please consider making a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.